Hey everybody, it's Julie Skolnick from With Understanding Comes Calm and the Gifted and Distractible blog. And welcome. I wanted to talk today about a little pet peeve of mine, and that is when parents or teachers say to children, particularly 2E children, of course, look me in the eye, or 1, 2, 3 eyes on me, like fingers grating. You're not paying attention. How do you know that they're not paying attention? So what does all this mean? What are these expectations that people have? What is this social stuff that we should be thinking about? And the perspective of our beautiful 2E or twice exceptional children, or maybe our 2E twice exceptional selves. So here's the thing. Society expects us to look straight in the eye to indicate that we are listening. For some people, not looking in the eyes is how they can listen. In fact, I have clients who tell me that their children or their students explain that when somebody tells me to look them in the eye, I feel like I'm in trouble. Or when a grown-up looks me in the eye and holds their gaze there, I feel like I did something wrong. So that's an interesting perspective, right? That might be new to you. And sometimes in order to pay attention, this is a little earth-shattering, so listen up. Sometimes in order to pay attention, a person might need to not look somebody in the eyes. Not to mention, what does look me in the eyes mean? Some kids are like, wait a minute, which eye? You actually can't physically look somebody in both eyes at the same time. So what does that mean for our literal cutie pies, right? That's a problem. All right, so what do we do about this with all the other things that we might be thinking about? This idea of look me in the eyes can actually be more of an issue than we think it is, because it seems like something easy, but it's not. It's yet another thing I, as a 2E child or a 2E person, can't do that society expects me to do. Check that one off the bad list again. So what do we do about this? How do we help our 2E kids and our 2E selves deal with the fact that sometimes that very thing that you don't want to, or is uncomfortable for you to do, is the exact thing that makes somebody else feel listened to, validated, or as though you're engaged? Okay. First, as always, if you know me, I'm going to go the kindness road. So first we have to be kind. We have to be kind to ourselves. We have to help our children be kind to themselves, and we have to be kind to ourselves as grown-ups to deal effectively with our children or our students or ourselves. And we have to communicate, and we have to help them understand a different perspective. So if it's really making you crazy that your child or your student is not looking you in the eye, back up a second, because they may not know what that means to you. They know what it means to them. It means they're in trouble. It means it's too intense for me to actually listen or engage, or whatever else is going on in their head. So we can't assume that they know what it means to us with so many things. This is like, right, this is the template for 2E existence of being misunderstood. So with the specific situation, the social cues, the look me in the eye, we have to share what it means. You know, most of society, looking somebody in the eye is an indicator that you're actually paying attention. I know that that might not be the case for you. So if it's not the case for you, and that's kind of like the least common denominator or the baseline, then maybe there's something you can say to the person who's speaking to help them understand how you're listening. Instead of telling your child or your student, what you need to say is, hey, I can't listen because I'm not looking at when I look at you in the eye. Ask your child or your student, how do you think you can effectively communicate your reality? And I don't care if this is a 3-year-old you're talking to or a 33-year-old. If they solve their own problem, it's going to be more long-lasting. You can help them tweak it. You can recommend role-playing with puppets or stuffed animals. You can ask, what do you think when you talk to me about something really important and I'm over here? You can ask them those questions, and you can help them think through so that they understand somebody else's perspective. Because I promise you, they're not being nefarious. They're not trying to be obnoxious. They're not interested, or maybe sometimes they are not interested, and then that's a whole other conversation. But first we have to talk about talking and what it means and why it's important. And then we have to help them do the cost benefit analysis of, if I really annoy my teacher, or I really annoy my parent, or how much is it really going to cost me to look them in the eye? Or, hey, how about a hack? Look them in the forehead, right? Look here between the eyes. That's kind of a fun trick instead of looking in the eye, but the speaker thinks you're looking them in the eye. So the bottom line is put on the brakes. Hang on a second. Let me make sure we're both on the same page. So often our twice exceptional kids, there are assumptions made about them, negative assumptions, or there's deficit focusing. And so what we need to do is we need to embrace who they are and recognize that their perspective is pretty darn different than ours, perhaps. And so we have to help make sure we're on the same page before we decide what's the strategy going forward. So think about this in the context of look me in the eyes, but think about it in the context of so many other things. For instance, if a child needs to doodle to pay attention, if a child needs to read to pay attention, if a child needs to listen to music to pay attention, those are all things that may indicate distraction for the grand majority of people. But for the person in front of you, it actually might be the hack for them to actually be able to listen and tune in. Okay, so when we want to say, look me in the eyes, take a second. Don't grab that chin and hold it towards your face. Don't do that. Let the child know what your perspective is and ask them what's going on for them and what's the best way for them to listen, because that's the goal. Thanks for listening.